Welcome to a deep dive by the Quiet Footnote. Today we're plunging into something, well, pretty extraordinary. A book that spans 2 millennia but offers wisdom that feels like it could have been written this morning. Think of this as maybe your shortcut, a way to get well informed on a classic that speaks directly to the noise and anxieties of our modern lives. And we're not talking about some dry, dusty academic text here. This is Seneca's Letters from a Stoic, a collection of really personal letters. These are dispatches from a man who, he wrestled with big things himself, ambition, fear, even exile, mortality. So our mission today, to pull out the most potent insights from Seneca's advice to his friend Lucilius. We want to find its pulse in our world right now and maybe give you a fresh, actionable perspective that really hits home.
Exactly. And it's not just about what Seneca said. We really need to unpack why it still matters so much today. How does this ancient wisdom connect to the challenges you're facing right now? It's kind of remarkable how stable the human condition is, even with all our tech changes.
Okay, so let's get into it. When Seneca was writing these letters, what was the core problem? What was he trying to patch, in the people around him? What bothered him?
Well, he saw this quiet but constant draining away of life. Not necessarily some big disaster, but life leaking out through distraction.
Yeah.
Through fear and just through having priorities completely mixed up. He saw people squandering their most precious resource, time. The only thing you can't get back on things that just didn't matter.
Like what sort of things?
Oh, the usual suspects even then.
Oh,
Status games, endlessly chasing more stuff, accumulation, even just idle chatter, gossip, wasting moments. And he also saw that people were terrified of the wrong things. Things like pain or poverty or death itself. While ignoring the real danger, which he thought was, living without intention, without integrity. Basically, not showing up for your own life.
wow. That sounds uncomfortably familiar. Like he's looking right at us now.
It really is. And the other piece was outsourcing happiness, relying on totally unstable external things.
Like wealth or what other people think. Luck.
Precisely. Wealth, public opinion, just sheer luck, instead of building happiness from the inside out on stable inner principles. So fundamentally, Seneca's big question was, how do we live fully? How do we live rightly? In a world that's always going to be unpredictable, often hostile, how can we stay, unshaken inside when everything outside our control is constantly shifting?
And what I find fascinating is that he wasn't just thinking about it. He wanted practical stoicism, right? Not just ivory tower debates. It sounds like he wanted to turn wisdom into a habit, like brushing your teeth, but for your soul, not a trophy on a shelf.
You're nailing it. Philosophy back then could be very academic, very elitist, confined to schools. Seneca, through these letters, was actively trying to bridge that gap, the gap between knowing what's right and actually doing it. He wanted to make philosophy a daily tool, something for self-governance, something you could apply to your choices, your reactions all day long.
It wasn't about just memorizing stuff.
Not at all. It was about living it.
And what's really powerful here for you listening is the message underneath all this. Even Seneca, the guy writing this profound advice, he struggled too. I mean, he got incredibly wealthy. He served the tyrant Nero. That seems pretty contradictory to some Stoic ideals.
It does. And he knew it.
So his urgency, it feels like it comes from his own battles, his own convalescence, as you put it, his own recovery and growth.
Yes, exactly. It's like he's working through it himself.
And that gives you, the listener, this kind of permission to be imperfect, right? You can stumble. The key is just keep returning to that path of living intentionally.
It's not about reaching some perfect state. It's about the effort, the consistent striving. It's incredibly empathetic, really. He's saying, look, I get it, this is hard, but the path is always here.
It is kind of eerie, though, how modern his advice feels, like he had a time machine or something.
It really is uncanny. The human patterns, the anxieties, the distractions he wrote about, they're exactly the same ones keeping us restless today. He couldn't have imagined smartphones or social media, obviously, but the ways we fritter away our lives, shockingly similar.
Okay, let's talk about that. The war for our attention. He warned about wasting time, just idling in the Roman Forum. How does that map onto today?
Oh, it maps perfectly, maybe too perfectly. He saw people losing days to idle chatter, gossip, just sort of existing without purpose. Today, that's the hours lost to endless scrolling. Binge-watching shows we don't even really like.
Right.
Or crafting that perfect online persona.
Right. Performative living.
Exactly. So his line, life is long if you know how to use it, that's a direct challenge to our fractured attention economy. And the urgency now is just, it's off the charts. Because distraction today is engineered. It's designed to capture and hold you.
Never been so effective, you mean?
Never. Without actively fighting back, guarding your focus, your days just vanish into that digital noise.
And the tyranny of comparison, that feels like another modern plague, just amplified like crazy.
1,000 times over. Back then, it was status games at banquets, who had the biggest house, the most followers in the forum. Now, it's the curated Instagram feed, the perfect lives, the follower counts, the likes.
Yeah.
Seneca's advice: measure yourself by your own progress, not by what others seem to have. That's the antidote. It's almost a survival skill now, with social media broadcasting envy 24/7.
Okay, what about this idea he had about fragility and comfort? We live in these hyper-controlled environments now. Air conditioning, food delivery. We seem less ready for hardship.
I think you're right. Roman elites had their luxuries, and Seneca saw how even small difficulties could completely undo them. So his practice of voluntary discomfort, things like rehearsed poverty.
Like choosing to eat simply or wear rough clothes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or walking instead of being carried.
Yeah.
It's a timeless way to build resilience. And honestly, with the world feeling so volatile now, climate change, economic shifts, training ourselves to handle a little discomfort, build that inner toughness, it feels more urgent than ever. So you're not wrecked by minor setbacks.
And mismanaged fear. We are just bombarded. News cycles, doom scrolling, viral panic. It spreads so fast.
We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. That's pure Seneca.
Wow.
And it's like a mental vaccine against catastrophizing, isn't it? All this constant alarmism affects mental health. We see it everywhere. His perspective helps you ask, is this fear real? Or am I just torturing myself, rehearsing a disaster that might never happen?
Learning to manage the imagination.
Precisely.
And then there's what you called mortality amnesia, acting like life goes on forever.
Yet despite living under emperors who could order your death on a whim, people back then still acted like they had infinite time. We do it too. With our anti-aging obsessions, our focus on extending life, maybe more than living life, even digital immortality ideas.
Right.
Seneca's calm but urgent acceptance of death, it just reorients you. It pushes you to live now. The real danger, the urgency, is spending your whole life preparing to live instead of actually doing it, putting off what matters for some future that might not come.
So bringing it all together, what does this mean for us? How do these ancient letters become, as you said, a lifeline today?
I think they're essentially an owner's manual for the human condition. The tools he gives us, managing time, mastering fear, building self-worth, they haven't aged at all. What has changed is that the forces working against us, distraction, comparison, fear-mongering, they've multiplied. They're faster, more sophisticated. So his voice, coming across all these centuries, it doesn't just feel relevant. It feels vital, like a guide through the noise to find what's actually important. And remember, this wasn't some academic just thinking thoughts. Seneca's philosophy was absolutely forged in fire. His life swung between incredible privilege and power, then crushing exile and constant mortal danger. Everything he tells Lucilius, you feel the weight of experience behind it. Like, trust me, I've lived this.
Can you give us a feel for some of those experiences? Because that really grounds the advice, doesn't it? Makes it less abstract.
Absolutely. I mean, think about his political life. He was tutor and advisor to Emperor Nero. He saw power up close. He saw how wealth and influence offered zero protection against anxiety, paranoia, or just sudden ruin in that ruthless Roman court.
So that's why he stressed inner stability.
Exactly. Because external security was revealed as an illusion. Then there's his exile. 8 years banished to Corsica. Imagine being stripped of everything: status, friends, comfort. It forced him back onto himself, relying purely on study, reflection. So when he writes about self-sufficiency, like the wise man is content with himself, you hear someone who had to be. It wasn't a choice.
And he struggled with health issues too, right? That must have shaped his view on mortality.
He did. Chronic illness, probably asthma or something similar. Living with that constant physical vulnerability, it clearly deepened his acceptance of mortality. It created this urgency to live fully now. When he talks calmly about death, saying the fear should be about never beginning to live, that sounds like someone who confronted it daily, not as some distant idea, but as a companion pushing him to make the most of each moment.
And witnessing brutality.
Yes, political purges, cruelty. That reinforced his belief in virtue as the only real shield, something the outside world couldn't touch, couldn't take away.
It makes total sense then why his ideas felt so radical, so challenging to how people normally thought, both then and now. He just flips the script on success, safety, happiness.
He completely flips it. Take time.
Yeah.
In a world obsessed with wealth and rank, Seneca says time is the real currency. Losing it is the real poverty. It makes you ask yourself, am I actually living or just letting time slip away? Or
Yeah.
comfort. We see comfort as the goal, right? Success equals ease.
Yeah, generally.
He challenges that. He says, no, practice voluntary discomfort.
Yeah.
Live simply sometimes. Not as a punishment, but as resilience training. Security isn't your circumstances. It's an inner skill you build.
That is a massive shift in perspective. And his view on death.
Also radical. Death is natural, not an evil to be feared. Fearing it just poisons the life you have.
Yeah.
The real tragedy. Never living well. It's liberating, really. It frees you to act without being paralyzed by fear. Makes courage practical.
And self-sufficiency. In a world obsessed with connections, networks.
He cuts right through that. He says a wise person's happiness doesn't hang on external approval. The freest person is the hardest to control. He basically moves the center of power from outside to inside you.
And pulling philosophy out of the classroom.
Making it democratic, yeah. It belongs in your daily routine, like exercise. It's a practical guide, not just for scholars to debate.
And even friendship.
Not just transactional alliances for gain, which were common. Choose friends who make you better. Moral capital over social capital. And it's amazing how many common myths Seneca just dismantles. Stuff that everybody knows, even today.
Okay, give us some examples. What myths did he bust?
With first, the big one.
Right.
Life is too short. We always say that, right? Not enough time. Seneca hits back hard. He says not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Life feels short because we let it leak away.
Ouch. Yeah.
So the new lens is guard your time, like it's the most valuable thing you own. Because it is.
And the myth that happiness depends on wealth or status, still huge today.
He demolishes it. Says external things that are just borrowed from fortune, can vanish instantly. Real happiness, built on virtue, needing little. His quote, he who needs riches least enjoys riches most. The takeaway, need less, enjoy more. Find freedom there.
Okay, what else?
The myth that fear keeps us safe. Seneca argues fear causes more suffering than the things we actually fear. Most of it is imagination running wild.
We are more often frightened than hurt.
And we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Exactly. So, the new lens. Prepare? Yes. Plan. But stop endlessly rehearsing disasters in your head. Limit the self-inflicted mental pain.
So relevant for today's anxiety levels. Keep going.
The myth that comfort is the ultimate goal. Seneca says no, comfort breeds weakness, fragility. He urges you to choose hardship sometimes. Set aside a certain number of days and say to yourself, is this what I feared? The idea is comfort should be an option, not a dependency that breaks you when it's gone.
Makes you brittle.
Right. Then the biggest one, death is the worst thing. Seneca says death is just part of nature. Wasting your life, that's the tragedy. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. The challenge is to live so fully that death interrupts nothing essential you've postponed.
And finally, that philosophy is just for academics.
Yeah, he insists it's training for the soul, essential. Philosophy teaches us to act, not to speak. Treat it like exercise for your mind and character. Use it or lose it. Ultimately, he strips away anything tying your peace to unstable external things. What's left is this radical idea. Freedom is internal. It's a state of mind.
Okay, fast forward. If Seneca were writing today, releasing an updated Letters from a Stoic for, say, 2025, how would he adapt? What new targets would he aim for?
Great question. He'd keep the same core message for sure. The backbone wouldn't change. Time, fear, virtue. But he'd absolutely aim it at our modern battlegrounds, the attention economy.
Oh, yeah.
He already hated idle gossip in the forum. Imagine his take on infinite scrolls, algorithmic outrage, constant notifications.
He'd have a field day.
Totally. He'd probably write a letter title on protecting the gates of the mind, urging us to guard our focus like our freedom. Because attention given away is life given away.
I can absolutely see that. And the digital comparison game, Instagram, TikTok.
Prime target. All his warnings about envy would now laser in on likes, follower counts, those perfect curated lives. He'd write, on measuring by your own yardstick. Compare yourself today to yourself yesterday, not to someone else's filtered fantasy life.
Makes sense. What about voluntary discomfort in our instant gratification world?
Huge. His advice there would be even more pointed, a letter maybe on keeping your edge sharp. Telling us to choose friction sometimes, walk the long way, eat the simple meal, wait patiently instead of demanding instant results. Why? So we're not completely undone by small inconveniences when the big ones hit.
Building that resilience muscle and mental health, the anxiety, the burnout, the constant bad news.
A perfect fit for his focus on mastering the mind. He'd offer strategies for mental hygiene in this overwhelming world. I could see a letter on building an inner quiet, about limiting the input you can't act on, cultivating stillness not as escape, but as preparation.
And AI, automation, big ethical questions there.
Definitely. He'd likely write on keeping the reins in your hands. A reminder that no matter how smart or useful the tech gets, it should never take over the human work of moral choice. Responsibility stays with us.
So despite all these modern applications, what wouldn't change? What's the timeless core?
He wouldn't soften his message. He wouldn't become, less direct. He'd still be hammering home the same fundamental truth. You control your mind. You control your time. You control your choices. He'd just use examples ripped straight from our news feeds and phone screens to prove how timeless these struggles and their solutions really are.
Okay, so after this fantastic deep dive, let's distill it. If we had to pull out just 5 key insights, the core principles for our listener, what would Seneca want us to remember?
All right, the absolute essentials. I think these 5 capture it. 1, guard your time as your life. Remember his words. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Time is it. Spend it fiercely on what matters to you.
Okay, number 2.
Need less, live freer. He who needs riches least enjoys riches most. Freedom isn't getting more, it's needing less. Reduce dependence on externals.
Got it. 3.
Fear less, act more. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Stop torturing yourself with imagined disasters. Face reality clear-eyed.
Number 4.
Train for resilience. Set aside a certain number of days
Yeah.
and say to yourself, is this what I feared? Embrace small discomforts voluntarily. Build that inner strength so hardship doesn't break you.
And the 5th key takeaway?
Live in alignment with virtue now. While we are postponing, life speeds by. Don't wait for some perfect future to be courageous, kind, or joyful. Life is happening right now. Live it well today. And if I had to boil the whole book down to one sentence, it'd be this. Letters from a Stoic is a handbook for living deliberately, teaching that freedom comes not from controlling the world, but from mastering how you spend your time, face your fears, and align your life with unshakable inner values.
That's incredibly powerful and concise. So what's next for you, our listener? Seneca's letters really are like a practical manual you can dip in anywhere. They're often grouped by themes: time, fear, self-sufficiency. Maybe just consider one area from our chat today. Where could you apply just a little bit of Seneca's wisdom? Could you audit your screen time? Could you choose the stairs? Just a small thing to build that inner edge. And before we wrap up, here's something to think about. If Seneca were walking beside you today, what unheard message beyond the famous quotes might he whisper just for you about your life? What one small, intentional choice could you make today, right now, to reclaim a bit of time, steady your mind, or act just a little more courageously, even knowing you're not perfect? We definitely encourage you to pick up letters from a Stoic yourself, or just take one idea from today and try it out. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive by the Quiet Footnote.